Hey, how you doing, guys? I know, 2 videos in one day. If I can get this one uploaded today, which is January 7th, Monday. It's been an interesting day. I figured I'd just kind of try to catch you up to what's going on in my life, if you're interested in that sort of thing. I cleaned out my bird room, and I'm turning it into a little studio so that I can set up lights and actually use my camera instead of my phone camera and try to make it a little bit more professional, even though I'm certainly not somebody who has the wallet to call themselves a professional YouTuber by any means whatsoever. It's just kind of a means to keep me out of trouble and keep me busy and share the things that I really enjoy doing with people who are brave enough to watch me. So I really appreciate anybody who is still with me this far. The 3 little eyeballs here today, a client of mine has ordered them, and I had started, I actually started videoing when I was making these to kind of show you my process, and then somehow or another, my husband went into the garage and turned on the radio in my car so that he could back the car out into the driveway, and I didn't know it, and it completely screwed up. Somehow or another, my phone camera went on to the Bluetooth inside my car, and he could hear me talking, and I didn't know because I was just filming away, and anyway, it was crazy. So by the time I found that out, I had already put these in the oven and baked them and everything. So you're going to hear a lot more noise in the background maybe than you did before. Like I said, I cleaned out my bird room. We've rehomed most of our parrots. I've kept 3 of them. I have Gypsy, my blue and gold, and I have Kipling. She is an African gray, and I have Bobby Elvis, who's actually here in the studio with me, and he is a Senegal parrot. And then I, of course, have, and all 3 of them talk quite a bit, and whenever I talk out loud, like on the phone or when I'm recording, they try to compete with me. So that's why they start talking and going crazy and squealing and screaming and singing and all kinds of things. They're trying to get my attention when I'm talking. So I hope you can tune that out. But anyway, so I thought I would maybe try to show you again how the basics of how I do these. Now, like I said, these have been fired. These have been, I cut them out. These particular eyes here in the middle are not ones that I hand painted. Like, for instance, this one is one that I hand painted on the back of a glass cabochon, as is this one. And those take quite a bit longer, like quite a bit longer, because it takes about, well, several days for it to cure. There are many, many layers of nail polish that I put on those to give them the sparkle and the depth that they have. And then I let them cure for a good 5 days sometimes, depending on how many layers I put on there. I don't have to do that with these ones. So I can, these are still the glass cabochons, but they're printed with printer paper and the colors and whatnot on the other side. And you can order those from Amazon, which is nice. And they're really neat. They have other things besides eyeballs too. So if you're interested in looking those up to make jewelry or whatever, I just look up glass cabochons, printed glass cabochons. I mean, they make them with butterflies and clock faces and all kinds of neat stuff. So anyway, and then for this kind of thing, I have been using just the basic buy it at Walmart 99-cent Bake Shop Sculpey. The reasons for this are that I usually end up covering my clay with mica powder and paints and gilding wax and crystals and all kinds of things anyway, so why would I buy a more expensive Sculpey or a more expensive type of polymer clay if I'm just going to cover it up? So I was thrilled to death when I figured out that I could do this, and it comes in a lot of different colors. So I used black for that one, and I used this kind of an aqua turquoise blue for this guy, and then this guy, of course, the orange. So I thought I would show you how. Hold on just 1 minute. I'm going to go and get another cabochon. I'm kind of doing this off the top of my head right now, guys. Hang on. Okay, I know that was a second to you guys, but it was a few minutes for me. The dogs were going crazy. Somebody rang the doorbell to drop off a package, and all hell broke loose, let me tell you. As it does. That's Kipling trying to sing back there. She's not a good singer. Alright, so I've got a little lump of black clay. Right now my little pasta machine is just a little bit too hard to get to, so I'm going to go ahead and use just my rolling thingamadoogie. So I've got a cookie cutter that is just a little bit bigger than the cab. I'm going to cut out one of those. I'm going to roll this up. I'm going to need a little bit more. The other reason I really like this cheap bake shop clay that you can get at Walmart is because it's made for kids. And conditioning clay, I don't know if you've ever done it before yourself, but with the regular Sculpey and Fimo, those brands out there, you really have to work that clay. I mean, quite a bit. And I've got fibromyalgia and arthritis in my hands. Some days is just really just terrible. And this stuff is extremely soft. Like, I wouldn't be able to do that with the normal Sculpey. And once again, that kind of stuff, the more expensive stuff with a really pretty, sometimes they have like translucent colors and like a pearlescent color to them and glitter in them and whatnot. Those are great, especially if you're making things like faux stones and whatnot. But if you're just going to cover it over with some sort of an enhancement, why not use the cheap stuff? It's easier to handle, it's easier to sculpt, and it's less expensive. I am so sorry, you guys. Seriously. Oh my goodness. It's quite a day today. It's been a little crazy. I had a doctor appointment this morning, and my husband's gone back to work today for the first time in about 3 weeks after all of the holidays and everything. So it's just a little nutso around here. The energy is good. It's good, positive energy, but holy cow, it's getting loud sometimes. All right. Here's my second cab. I think I'll let him out just to see if he'll be quieter if I let him just roam around. Bobby Alvarez, what you doing? Hey, Bobby. Would you like to come out? Come on, friend. Mr. Bob. Come on. Step up. Step up. Step up. You want to say hi to people? Come on. You want to say hi to people? Here he is. I don't know if you'll be able to see him very well, but because he's not necessarily going to look up. Here, I'll hold him upside down. Are you upside down? Good bird. There he is. All right, buddy. I'm going to put you up here. Okay? You be a little quieter, please? Okay, we'll try. Okay, so that accomplished. Next thing we're going to do is when we have our 2 circles, cut one of them in half. These are going to be your eyelids. This is going to be your base. So you can use a big long tool here to skim your circles off of your working surface. This is a tile that I got actually at a Goodwill, but I think you can buy tiles individually at Home Depot and Lowe's and that sort of thing. But I absolutely love this. I wish I could figure out where to get a whole bunch of it, because I would totally do my kitchen in this stuff. It's really cool. Anyway, so you're just going to press your cabochon down. You could use, what's it called? Some sort of the polymer clay adhesive. Let's see if I have some. Yes, Bacon Bond. You can use that if you want to, but I haven't really found it necessary. Let me try that again. There we go. And this is really more for bonding together two pieces of clay, like, you know, like the eyelids to the base, more so than the glass cabochon, the other side to the base. But, you know, do what makes you more comfortable. But I put so much on top of my cabochon that I've never had one fall out yet. So, knock on wood, that's not going to happen. So this is a part where it starts to get really fun. I like to make my eyes a little bit like if there were an eyebrow present, he'd be lifting it up like, you know, like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Like, what you doing, Bendy? Well, Bendy's trying to eat the bird, so I had to rescue him. Oh, gosh. All the things that never happen are happening today when I'm trying to work, right? Okay, give me another second here. I'm going to put him back and see if I can get things to calm down. Okay. I can try this again, and I've got a couple of emergency almonds up here. All right. So what I've done is I've put the eyelids, I guess if you want to call them, on the top and the bottom, and I'm starting to shape those around. I am going to try to make more of the actual color show on this one than they did in these here. So after I put those on, you kind of want to go around it with your blade and just sort of round the edges out, you know, just kind of pretty them up. And then you've got your extra clay here. This is where it gets fun. You can make all kinds of little balls to put on. And here's my flattening thing. You can make... For some reason my tools are all missing today, but you can make a snake like that and kind of taper the end down with one finger. So see how it's kind of smaller at one end than the other, and then sort of curl that up from the end, make it a little curly Q. I like to do that like on the upper lid, and then pop it around there and just push that down onto the edge. Don't push super hard because we're going to do a little bit of enhancing, a little bit of sculpting on that here in just a bit. Now usually, oh here it is. I have this little tool. It's just a piece of hard square plastic. This helps you get a nice even little snake. Nice, even, and smooth. And so I like to take those and then kind of cut up a few little pieces off of it, and then I have some sort of uniform size little balls that I can make and just make, you know, just like being in kindergarten. It's so therapeutic and so nice, so much fun. You know, I mean, you can make these really simple, you can get really elaborate, you can use different textures. There are all kinds of textures available for this stuff. I'm going to make this one a little bit longer so I can do my bottom lid. Kind of do the same thing we did up there. There we go. I'm going to put some of these little balls here in the corner of my eyeball. Maybe 3 of them. Like that. And then I've got some sculpting tools over here that I like to use. I like to take the end of this and sort of push as much of that under eyelid away from the color as I can, so you can see more of the glass, but still have it on top of that. So kind of, you know, kind of smoothing it out. And same down here. kind of push that clay so that you can't really see that bottom layer underneath your lid part. And then I like to come back in with a tool like this, which is concave on the end, and go all around the outside, and it makes these really cool little circles. I don't know how well you can see this. Maybe if I go down a little bit. I can't do that. It's not going to show up a whole lot until we start putting on like the mica powder and all that kind of thing. So I like to just go around the outside one time and just press in these little circles with this. And there are different sizes of these tools that you can get. I think they are sold at Michael's in a set. I believe these are Sculpey tools. And I'm going to go again around and do as much as I can on the bare clay that I can actually see here. But it's not going to completely cover. You know, just try to get them as nice as you can, and if they have to overlap, that's okay. It's just kind of a sort of a suggestion of scales on a dragon's face, right? And if you want to be super, super fancy, you could go back into each of those circles and poke a little hole, just, you know, so people can go, oh my God, it's so detailed. How do you do this? And then you can show them that it's a lot of fun, and it's really not that hard to do. And once you get used to doing it, it can actually go pretty quick. So I kind of like to pride myself on all of mine being quite different, but there is sort of a formula that you'll kind of make up as you go along that's sort of your own special formula. Now, another thing you can do over here on these, you can use that tool again, and here's a smaller one, and you can kind of put little circles in those little balls that we put on the eyeball edge there. And I like to kind of go into where my curly cues are and make a little circle there to kind of press that in. And let's see, I think I'm going to use the end of it to put lines on my eyelid things. I guess they're eyelids. I should quit calling them eyelid things. But you can do that and it looks cool. You could also, if you wanted to, just continue with your circles on your eyelids. Nothing wrong with that. And just kind of press down into the clay with whatever instrument you're going to use, just to give it a little more detail. And like I said, it's going to look, the more detail and the more things that you do on here, the more interesting it's going to look like. So this is kind of how it's going to turn out on this particular one. On this one, what I did was I took this ball tool and I went around and just dimpled it all the way around. But then you see right here, I made those circles with dots in them. And then around these things, I made the little lines. So this one, I actually used this kind of like a pencil and made sort of a brick wall. See that? There you go. So there's just all kinds of things you can do with them. And I'm going to put this one here as well. A little circle in that guy. Now, this is where I'm going to get fancy, I guess, a little bit. I'm going to see what I've got here. See what I've got by way of blue crystals. I've got a tool here. It's kind of like a little wax bulb on the end of a plastic stick, and I'm just going to pick up the crystal I want and just set it where I want it to go. And then I like to take my other end to press it in so very gently. You don't want your plastic to pop off of your crystal and make a dent in your clay, but push it down until it's in there really well. If you feel safer putting a drop of that adhesive in, go right ahead. I don't think I need to do that, so I'm not going to worry about it this time. Let me find another one of those and put that here. There we go. And then I think I'm gonna maybe do a couple over here in blue and a couple in red if I can find them. Just position it and push it down however you feel safe doing it. Here's another one like that. So feel free to give your dragonite all the warts and scales and anything else you want to give them. More curly cues. You can put some big old, I don't know what you would call them. I guess those would be scales as well. You can put some of those up there. Let's do that. I'll show you how I do those. Those are kind of cool. So just roll up a ball. Grab a little piece off of it. And then I like to make a triangle with my fingers and then flatten it out so that it looks sort of like a little kitty cat ear, little triangle. And then just set that, try to make it pretty flat if you can. Try to get your fingerprints off of it. Set that down there, push it in, and then you can take your tools to push it in more into the clay. Let's see, which one do I want to use? My other little one. Oh well, I'll use this guy. And just put a few little dimples in it. You can cover that over if you want. I like to make some lines on it to kind of almost make it look like horns or something. And let's give him another one too. A little bit smaller one in front of that one. So you smush it down. And then just sort of make a diamond, or a triangle. And fit it in front of this one. Mush it down in there. And then what I'm going to do to cover that up is I'm going to make another log. And decorate another log to go in there, if that makes sense. So here's some, make another little log. Ta-da! Start it right there. And maybe just a little bit of a curly cue in front of it, right there like that. And take my little dimply tool and push down. Okay, let's see what we've got by way of red. Oops. Okay, I've got some red crystals in here. Let's put a great big red one right here. What would that be? And then maybe a couple of the smaller blood red ones sort of over here. Oops. Like I said, guys, this is where the magic comes in. This is where you individualize what you're doing and just wow everybody with your incredible design ideas, I guess. So, settle down, you guys. It's okay. I guess they finished their almonds. Oops. That's why I like to use this end because a lot of times if you push these down, then you might end up with your wax thing wanting to pick it right back up. I'm just going to kind of go around each of these with the end of my tool just to make them look kind of bumpy. I don't know why, just because. And I think that's good for now, for this part. So I'm going to go grab some mica powder and I'll be right back. Alrighty. No, the birds are singing again. Here, Bobby, come here. There's another almond with this. Look. Alrighty, so here we go with our mica powder, and I'm using Pearl-X is the brand I'm using here. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to make everything shake. I love Interference Blue. That's what this is. That's what this looks like on black. It looks like it's very, very powdery. See how it shimmers? It just kind of gives this sort of pearlescent or iridescent shimmer to your unbaked clay. So I'm just going to put it all over this. Just kind of painting it on with just a regular old paintbrush. And you can use different colors of this. They sell a lot of different colors. You don't have to use the Pearl-X brand. You can actually use makeup for this. Like eyeshadow colors will work really well for this. Let's see, I think I did these in blue like this. And then I've got more of a red that I'm going to put on. They've got like golds and oranges and greens and just all different colors of metallic silvers and bronze and copper and just anything you possibly want. But this happens to be my favorite. Okay, and then we're going to finish up with this one. Sometimes I like to mix it together, make it a little purplish. And this stuff just bakes completely off. So don't worry about getting it on the glass. You can always clean the glass up after you bake it. Not a problem. It'll basically just disappear. But give it a good coat, and you're not really going to be able to stick anything to it as far as gemstones and crystals and whatnot after you paint it. So this is kind of the last thing you want to do on your raw clay, your unbaked clay. Because crystals do not want to stick. That bird. Crystals do not want to stick now. What's up, Kippers? Got hiccups? La 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 la. She's so funny. Hello. It's hilarious when they all start talking to each other and trying to outdo each other, and gosh. Funniest thing Kipling has ever done to me is I was going upstairs one morning. My husband was out of town. It was like 4 in the morning, and I thought that I'd heard something downstairs. So we'd been broken into before. So I had my 9mm with me, and I'm in my nightgown. I'm going downstairs. Everything was fine. It was all dark. As I'm going back up the stairs, I passed the bird room, and Kipling says, "Put down your weapons," in this really low voice. And what it was, she learned that from video games in the home that she was in before. I about peed myself until I figured out what it was, you know. But she's got quite a sense of humor. She's probably the smartest of all the birds. She's the goofiest, but the smartest. All right, so now I'm going to cut this off of here very gently and carefully. Just kind of slide that under. And give you a closer look and sign it on the back. This is when you want to sign it while it's still wet, of course. I had somebody tell me one time that they bought one of these for a friend, and then the friend turned around and said, well, that girl that made those, she used a mold because I could tell from the back. And see, this is what it looks like on the back. Well, that's not a mold. As you could very well see, I sat here and put it together right in front of you. I don't know what she was thinking, but I like to go through when I'm done and put Gilder's wax on the back of these and make them all shiny after they're baked. So this is what it looks like before it goes into the I have a toaster oven here in my studio, and I use it only for baking clay at I want to say 375, and I put it into the cold oven that's set at 375 for half an hour, and I just let it go for half an hour, and then I come and take it out and let it cool off naturally, and this is what I end up with, and it's nice and hard and ready to have wax and paint or whatever else antiquing you want to do on it, ready to go. So maybe I'll come back in my next video with all of these baked, and I'll show you what I do after I bake them. I'll show you how I do some antiquing and maybe some gilder's wax and different colorations and enhancements on them. So thank you guys so much for hanging with me. I know this has been kind of a long one, but it was a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you next time.